The sun is a big ball of hot gas that keeps Earth and all the other planets in the solar system alive. But what would happen if it suddenly exploded? The sun is an average-sized star, but just like all stars in the universe, its life has a beginning, middle, and end. Right now, our sun is about halfway through its life. It will continue to shine brightly for another 10 billion years. But after that, things will get kind of dark. When the sun runs out of fuel, it will collapse, and all that hot gas will explode outward in a huge blast called a supernova. In this video, we're going to learn what would happen if the sun exploded today. You might think the sun exploding would be pretty easy to notice, and you'd be right. It would be about 300 times brighter than a typical supernova, which is the brightest explosion in the universe. Our planet would be blasted with so much light and heat, it would feel like being inside a furnace at 1800 degrees Celsius. All of the Earth's oceans would instantly evaporate into steam. Any living thing not completely vaporized by the intense heat would be burned to a crisp. So any people, birds, fish, or other animals unfortunate enough to be outside during the blast would be completely obliterated. But the real damage wouldn't start until after the light show. As the sun exploded, the intense pressure from the blast wave would literally blow Earth out of the solar system. If the sun were to explode right now, we would have no way of knowing about it until weeks or even months later, when we noticed that the nights were unnaturally bright. Then, when we looked up in the sky, we would see a bright, beautiful cloud of debris expanding outward from where the sun used to be. That debris would include a lot of the material that makes up the sun's atmosphere, mostly hydrogen and helium. But because the sun is so massive, there would also be heavier elements like carbon, oxygen, and iron. These elements are created inside of stars, and as the sun exploded, it would throw these elements out into space. Some of them would eventually make their way to other stars and planets, combining with other elements to form molecules that could eventually become part of living things, like people, birds, and fish. So the sun's explosion would actually help create the building blocks of life elsewhere in the universe. But for life to begin, there needs to be a star to orbit around. And unfortunately, the explosion would send Earth's orbit completely haywire. As the sun grew, the explosion blast would knock Earth out of its path around the center of the solar system. Without the gravity holding it together, the Earth would break apart, torn to pieces by the solar winds. Any chunks that didn't get blown away would eventually fall into the sun's massive crater. The remaining planets would also be affected, although not as badly as Earth. They would each be knocked out of orbit, and some would be destroyed just like Earth. Others might be flung out of the solar system entirely, or they could collapse under their own gravity, forming new, smaller stars. If any life forms did manage to survive the initial blast, they would face another major problem: radiation. When the sun exploded, it would release a massive amount of gamma rays, X-rays, and other kinds of harmful radiation. This radiation would sterilize the surface of any planet or moon it touches, killing off any remaining life. Any survivors would have to wait millions of years for the radiation to die down to survivable levels. Although it might sound kind of dramatic, the sun actually exploding is nothing to worry about. It won't happen for another 5 billion years. And by that time, we should have advanced to the point where we can leave the solar system and find a new home. Or maybe by then, we'll have figured out how to move planets. Either way, it's not our problem. What do you think you would do if the sun exploded tomorrow? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you can learn more about the amazing space that we live in. I'll see you next time.